The auction hall was loud at first, filled with shouting voices, clinking coins, and cruel laughter. But now it was almost quiet, almost done. Every cage had been emptied. The buyers had taken what they wanted. Strong workers, rare creatures, beautiful slaves. Chains had rattled as each one was dragged away. The crowd cheered, argued, and laughed. Yet now, only one cage remained, standing in the farthest corner, hidden half in the shadows. Inside it sat a girl, not fully human, not fully beast. Her skin carried faint glowing lines like cracks of fire beneath stone. Her hair was tangled, her wrists raw from iron chains. She looked thin, starved, but her eyes glowed like embers. They burned with defiance, with something wild, something dangerous. The auctioneer, a fat alien with 3 eyes, waved his hand lazily. "The last one," he said, his voice almost bored. "The cursed one. Who dares take her?" The crowd murmured. Some leaned closer, but most leaned away. "Not her," one trader spat. "She's bad luck," another whispered. "They say she killed her last master with just a scream." No one who bought her lived long. The laughter that followed was uneasy, nervous. Even the bravest bidders shook their heads. She was not worth the coin, not worth the risk. The girl sat silent. She did not beg. She did not cry. She stared at them with cold fire, as if daring them to try. She had been paraded before many buyers, but always left behind. To them she was a monster, a curse, a weapon too wild to use. The auctioneer slammed his staff on the ground. "Come now. A final chance. She is rare, she is powerful, someone must want her. Or shall I throw her back to the pits?" Still no hands rose. No voices offered coin. And then from the back of the hall a new voice spoke. "I'll take her." It was not loud, not proud. It was simple, calm, steady. A human voice. The crowd turned sharply. A single man stood there, plain clothes, dust on his boots. He did not look rich, not like the other buyers. He did not wear armor, not like the mercenaries. He was just human. His eyes were steady, his face unreadable. The auctioneer blinked, then laughed. "You, a human? Do you even know what you are asking for?" Whispers filled the hall. "Is he mad? Does he want to die?" Humans, always strange. But the man did not flinch. He walked forward slowly, each step echoing in the hall. The girl inside the cage narrowed her glowing eyes, watching him closely. The auctioneer leaned over, trying to scare him. "This one is not a servant. She is cursed, dangerous, many masters tried. All failed. She will tear you apart." The man only said again, "I'll take her." Silence fell. Even the cruelest buyers stopped mocking. Something in his voice carried no fear, no hesitation. The auctioneer shrugged, grinning with sharp teeth. "As you wish. Pay the coin and she's yours, but don't come crying when she rips out your throat." The man placed a bag of credits on the table without a word. Enough to buy her freedom, more than enough. The auctioneer's greedy hand snatched it up. The keys clinked as they were thrown at him. "She's yours, human. May the curse take you quickly." Gasps filled the hall as the man stepped to the cage. He did not wait for guards. He did not use a whip. He unlocked the door himself, the rusted metal creaking as it opened. The girl inside hissed like a wild creature, crouching low, ready to strike. Her chains rattled, her glowing eyes fixed on him. She expected blows, commands, cruelty. That was all she had ever known. But the man did something no one expected. He did not raise a weapon. He did not spit commands. Instead, he extended his hand. "Calm, open, steady. You're free now," he whispered. The words froze her heart. Free? She had never heard that word spoken to her. Not once. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter. For the first time, she looked uncertain. The crowd behind them erupted in laughter, mocking the human. "He's insane. She will kill him before nightfall. What a fool!" But the man did not care. His hand remained steady in the air, waiting. The girl's chains felt heavier than ever. Her breath came sharp. She could not move, could not decide. She had been called monster, cursed, worthless. And now this strange human whispered the word free. Something shifted in the air, silent but powerful. The hall of cruelty, filled with laughter and greed, suddenly felt like the center of something much greater. For the first time in her life, the girl wondered, was this man mad, or was he the only one who truly saw her? The auction was over. Every cage was empty except hers until a human whispered, "I'll take her." And in that whisper, her fate changed forever. The crowd still buzzed with laughter and whispers, but the human man ignored them all. He held the keys in his hand, the cold iron pressing into his palm, and looked at the girl sitting inside the cage. Her glowing eyes burned with suspicion, her thin arms trembling under the heavy chains. She was watching him like a trapped beast, waiting for a strike, a command, or a whip, but none came. The human stepped closer slowly, careful not to move too fast. He knelt by the cage and pushed the door open wider. The metal groaned as if it had not been opened in years. The stench of rust and damp air filled his nose, but he didn't flinch. "Come out," he said softly, his voice calm, almost gentle. The girl hissed under her breath. She did not believe him. She had been told too many lies, given too many false hopes. Freedom was a trick, always a trick. She curled her hands into fists, the sharp edges of the chain links cutting her skin. The auctioneer chuckled behind them. "Go on, human. Touch her. Let's see how long your kindness lasts." The buyers leaned forward, eager for a show. They expected screams, blood, maybe even death. They wanted to see the human torn apart by the cursed girl, but the man did not show fear. Instead, he unlocked the shackles around her wrists one by one. The metal clattered to the floor. Her skin, raw and bruised, showed angry red marks where the chains had bitten into her. She stared at him, confused. No one had ever undone her chains without beating her first. No one had ever given her wrists back to her. "You're free now," he repeated. His hand lingered near her, but he didn't grab her. He didn't force her. He just offered. The girl's breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she almost believed him. Almost. But then her memories returned. Masters who smiled and promised food, only to punish her later. Guards who spoke gently before breaking her bones. She snarled, baring her teeth, her voice cracked with anger. "Liar." The human only shook his head. "Not a liar. Not today." He stood up and walked a few steps away from the cage, turning his back to her. His shoulders were broad but relaxed, his hands loose at his sides. It was an invitation. If she wanted to attack him, now was the time. If she wanted to run, the door was open. The crowd gasped, waiting for the strike. The girl's muscles tensed. She could leap, she could tear at his throat, she could escape. But she didn't. Something inside her refused. The human looked back over his shoulder and said, "The choice is yours. Stay or walk away. I won't chain you again." The word struck her like a blade to the heart. Stay? Walk away? No master had ever given her such a choice. She had always been told, never asked. She stumbled out of the cage slowly, her legs weak, her ankles shaking under the sudden weight of freedom. The chains clinked as they dragged behind her. Every step felt like a dream, like she was walking into fire or into sky, she could not tell which. The buyers muttered in disbelief. She stepped out. "She hasn't killed him yet?" "This human is mad," the auctioneer scoffed, pocketing the man's coin. Fool. He bought his own death. But the man guided her away from the cage with calm steps, never forcing her, never grabbing her arm. He simply walked ahead as if expecting her to follow, and she did. Out in the cold night air, the sounds of the market still echoed, calls of traders, clangs of ships docking, the smell of smoke and oil in the wind. The girl shivered, hugging her thin arms around herself. She wanted to run, but her feet betrayed her, following the human. Something about his presence pulled her forward like a quiet force. At last, she snapped at him, her voice sharp. Why take me? Why waste coin on a curse?" The human stopped walking. He turned to face her, his eyes steady, not mocking, not cruel. "Because no one else would. Because you deserve better than a cage." Her mouth opened, but no words came. She stared at him, searching for a trap in his eyes, but saw only calm truth. She wanted to believe him. She hated that she wanted to believe him. Finally, she muttered, "I am not safe." "I am dangerous," the human nodded slowly. "Maybe, but that doesn't mean you deserve chains." The girl's chest ached. The chains on her wrists were gone, but inside she still felt them heavy as ever. Could a human really mean this? Or was it just another cruel game? The night stretched silent between them. She looked at his hand again. The same hand that had unlocked her cage. The same hand that had not struck her. She had to decide. Trust or run. And deep inside, for the first time, a small spark lit in her chest. A spark she had thought long dead. Hope. The human turned again and started walking. "You don't owe me anything," he said without looking back. "But if you stay, I'll protect you." She froze. Protect? No one had ever spoken such words to her. Slowly, uncertainly, she followed him into the night. And though she hated herself for it, she felt safer in his shadow than she had ever felt in the cage. The night was quiet as they left the auction hall behind. The laughter of the buyers, the clinking of coins, the cruel voices, they all faded into the distance. But inside the alien girl's chest, the noise was still there. A storm of doubt, anger, and fear twisted in her heart. She walked behind the human, her bare feet brushing the dusty ground. Every step felt strange, too light, too unreal. She was outside the cage, outside the walls, yet the weight on her chest was heavier than ever. Her wrists, now free of iron, still felt the burn of chains. The human said nothing. He simply walked with calm steps as if guiding her but never pulling. He did not bind her hands, did not force her to keep up. He moved like a man walking alone, yet he always slowed just enough so she would not fall behind. That only made her more suspicious. Her mind screamed, "It's a trick. He's pretending to be kind. He'll use you. They all use you." When he stopped at a food stall, the smell of roasted meat filled the air. Her stomach twisted in hunger, but she did not let it show. She had learned long ago, never let them see your weakness. The human bought food with his last few coins and handed it to her. The steam rose in the cool air. The girl stared at it but did not take it. "Eat," he said simply. Her glowing eyes narrowed. "Poison?" she asked sharply. He looked at her calmly. "Food, nothing else." She clenched her fists. She wanted it so badly, but her pride burned hotter than her hunger. Slowly, she turned her head away. "Keep your trick." The human didn't argue. He only shrugged and sat down by a wall. He ate a small piece himself, then left the rest on a clean cloth between them. He did not push it toward her. He did not command her. He just let it sit there. The smell tormented her. She waited for him to look away, but he didn't. His calm eyes never wavered. Finally, when the hunger grew unbearable, she grabbed the food quickly and shoved it into her mouth as if stealing it. Her pride cracked, but she told herself it was survival, nothing more. The human only gave a small smile. "Good." She glared at him, furious. "Don't think I trust you." "I don't," he replied. "Not yet," her breath caught. She had expected him to argue, to insist. But he accepted her distrust as easily as the night air. That frightened her more than anger would have. Later, as they traveled through the dark streets, she tested him. She tried to fall behind, then darted into an alley. She thought he would chase her, shout at her, drag her back. He didn't. He only called after her, his voice steady. "Run if you want, but they'll catch you again, and next time I won't be there." The words struck her harder than chains. She froze in the alley, her glowing eyes darting between the shadows. She knew he was right. She could already feel the stares of hunters in the night. Alone, she was nothing but prey. Slowly, with anger burning inside her chest, she returned to him. "Why didn't you stop me?" she demanded. He looked at her calmly. "Because freedom means you choose freedom." That cursed word again. She hated how it sounded on his lips. She hated how it made her heart tremble. As the night deepened, they stopped by an abandoned barn outside the city. The roof had holes and the wind whistled through the broken wood, but it gave shelter. The girl sat in one corner, her knees pulled to her chest, watching him closely. He made a small fire, its orange glow lighting his face. He did not look like the other masters. No greed in his eyes, no cruelty in his hands. He looked tired, a man who carried burdens she could not see, but she refused to let her guard down. "You want something," she hissed. "They always want something. What is it? My power, my body, my blood?" His gaze lifted to her, steady and calm. "None of those. I only want you to live." The fire cracked between them. Her heart pounded. She had no answer. Finally, she spat on the ground. "Liar." The human lay back on the straw, closing his eyes. "Then keep watching me until you know." The girl stared at him for a long time. Every rise and fall of his chest, every breath, every flicker of the fire. She waited for the trick, for the cruelty, for the whip. But none came. Her eyelids grew heavy, though she fought against it. Her body, weak from hunger and fear, betrayed her. And before sleep took her, one last thought whispered in her mind. Why does he not act like the others? She hated that question. She hated how it made her wonder. Chains still clung to her soul. Distrust wrapped her heart. Yet in the shadows of the barn, for the first time in years, she slept without iron bars around her. The morning came quietly. A pale light slipped through the broken roof of the barn, painting the floor with cold silver. The alien girl opened her glowing eyes slowly. For one heartbeat, she thought she was still in the cage. The smell of dust, the hard floor beneath her, the chill air, it all felt the same. But then she noticed something different. No iron bit into her wrists. No guard stood nearby with a whip. And on the other side of the small fire lay the human, asleep, his face calm, his breathing steady. She stared at him for a long moment. He had not chained her during the night. He had not even tied her feet. She could have run. She could have killed him. Yet he slept without fear. Her chest tightened with confusion. Why trust her? Why risk his life for nothing? She shook the thoughts away and stood up quietly, moving to the broken doorway. The world outside was wide, filled with forests and faraway hills. Freedom. She could step into it now. Her foot touched the dirt outside, and then she froze. In the distance, rough voices shouted. The sound of boots hitting the ground echoed closer and closer. Hunters, bounty seekers. The auctioneer's men must have sent them already. Her heart raced. Instinct screamed at her to run, to vanish into the trees. But the voices were many, too many. If they caught her alone, she would return to chains or worse. She looked back at the barn. The human still slept, unaware of danger. For a brief moment, her chest burned with a question she had never felt before. Should I wake him? Should I protect him? Before she could decide, the barn door burst open. Rough men with knives and clubs rushed in, shouting. The human's eyes opened instantly. He rose without panic, pulling her behind him. Stay close, he said, voice calm but sharp. She hissed, baring her teeth. Why, you'll die for me. He didn't answer. He simply stood between her and the hunters as if it was the most natural thing in the world. The men laughed at him. One human and one cursed girl? Easy coin. They charged. The fight was brutal. The human moved fast, blocking blows with his arms, kicking hard, striking with the strength of someone who had fought many times before. But there were too many. A club smashed against his side. A blade cut across his arm. Blood splattered the straw. The girl gasped. Her glowing eyes widened as she watched him take the blows meant for her. He never moved aside, never tried to push her toward the hunters. Every strike he took because he stood in front of her. Something cracked inside her heart. She had seen men fight before, but always for greed, for power, for cruelty. Never for her. Never to protect her. When one hunter raised a blade high, ready to strike the human's neck, the girl could not hold back. She screamed. The sound was not human. It was sharp, burning, filled with raw power. The ground shook. The hunters stumbled back, clutching their heads, blood dripping from their noses. Her cursed voice, the one she feared, burst free. The men fled, terrified, leaving their weapons behind. The barn fell silent again, filled only with the crackle of the fire and the ragged breaths of the human. He collapsed onto the ground, blood staining his clothes. The girl rushed to his side, trembling. Why? She whispered, her voice breaking. Why did you protect me? You should have left me. You should have let them take me. He coughed, but his eyes still held calm strength. Because no one protected you. Someone should. Her throat tightened. The words were too heavy, too impossible. She placed her hands on his wound, her alien energy glowing faintly. She had never used her gift for healing, only destruction. But now, trembling, she tried. Warm light spread under her palms. The bleeding slowed. His breath steadied. Tears she didn't understand filled her eyes. She whispered softly, almost against her will. I don't understand you. Why are you like this? The human gave a faint smile, his voice weak but steady. Because you're not a curse. You're just someone who deserves a chance. The girl froze. No one had ever spoken such words to her. Not once in all her years. She wanted to deny them, to spit at him, to call him a liar. But she couldn't. The fire in his eyes was too real. As he closed his eyes and drifted into rest, the girl sat beside him, her hand still glowing faintly over his wound. For the first time, she did not think of running. For the first time, she thought of staying. The chains of distrust still wrapped her heart. But in that quiet barn, with the human bleeding and yet smiling, the first sparks of trust began to burn, and they terrified her more than any cage ever had. The human slept through most of the day, his body weak from the wounds he had taken. The girl sat beside him, silent, her glowing eyes watching every rise and fall of his chest. She could have left. The forest was wide, the world beyond open, but she stayed. Her hands still trembled from the healing she had given him. She had never used her gift that way before, Always her power brought fear, destruction, and death. But when she placed her hands on him, something inside her shifted. Instead of fire that burned, there had been warmth that mended. It frightened her almost as much as it amazed her. By evening, he stirred awake. His eyes opened slowly, tired but steady. She looked away quickly, pretending she wasn't waiting. "You stayed," he said softly. Her voice snapped back, sharp. "I had nowhere else to go." But both of them knew it was not the full truth. He sat up with effort, leaning against the wall. "They'll keep coming. The auctioneer won't forget. The hunters won't stop." She hugged her knees to her chest. "They're not after you. They're after me." "Then tell me why," he said. His voice was calm, not demanding, not harsh. Just steady. Her breath caught. She wanted to stay silent, to bury the truth like she always had. But the memory of him standing in front of her, bleeding for her, pressed against her chest. Maybe he deserved to know. Her glowing eyes dimmed, her voice dropping low. "I am cursed. Not because of rumor. Not because of lies. Because it's true." The human did not flinch. He waited. She clenched her fists. "Inside me, there is a power. A scream, a fire, a storm. When it comes out, it kills. Whole camps, whole villages. I cannot control it. That is why they put me in chains. That is why no one buys me. I am not a servant. I am a weapon." Her words trembled in the air like knives. She expected him to move back, to fear her, to look at her like all the others did, with disgust and horror. But he didn't. Instead, he leaned forward, his eyes calm, and asked, "How many times have you lost control?" Her chest ached. She whispered, "Too many." "And how many times did you do it because you wanted to?" She froze. No one had ever asked her that. She opened her mouth, then closed it. At last her voice cracked. "Never. It just happens. When they hurt me, when they hurt others, when the chains cut too deep, it comes out." The human's gaze softened. "Then you're not cursed. You're wounded." Her breath shook. Anger and pain tangled inside her. "Don't say that. You don't understand. I could kill you in your sleep." He gave a small smile, even with the bandages still wet on his wounds. "Then I'll take the risk." Her glowing eyes widened. She couldn't believe him. Was he foolish? Or truly fearless? "You're mad," she spat. "Maybe," he answered in, "but I'm still here." The barn grew quiet again. The fire cracked, the wind howled through the holes in the roof, but their silence was heavier than both. At last she whispered, almost to herself, "Do you know what they call me?" "What?" "The death song." Her voice trembled. "Because when I scream, people die. And yet you call me free." The human's eyes locked on hers. "Because that's what you are, free, not a curse, not a song of death. Just someone who was never given a chance." Her chest felt like it would break. For years she had believed the names they gave her, believed the curse was her only identity. But here was one human, stubborn and calm, refusing to believe it. Tears burned her eyes, and she hated them. She hated how weak they made her feel. She turned her face away so he wouldn't see. He didn't press her. He didn't reach out or try to comfort her. He only leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes. His silence was not rejection. It was trust. The girl sat in the corner, hugging her knees tighter, her heart pounding. For the first time she felt something stranger than fear, heavier than anger. Hope. It terrified her more than her own power, because hope meant she might believe him. And if she believed him, she could be broken all over again. Yet as the night deepened, she could not escape the truth. She had revealed her secret, her curse, her shame, and instead of chains, the human gave her only one answer: "I'll stand closer." The words echoed in her mind, louder than any scream she had ever unleashed. The next morning was not quiet. The girl felt it in the air before she even opened her eyes. A heaviness pressed against her chest, a warning carried by the wind. She sat up quickly, her glowing eyes scanning the horizon through the broken roof. The human was already awake, his face serious. He had found tracks outside the barn, heavy boots, clawed feet, too many to count. He didn't say it out loud, but she could see it in his eyes. They're coming. The auctioneer had wasted no time. Word of her escape had already spread. For some it was business. For others it was sport. To capture the cursed girl would mean fortune, reputation, power. The human packed quickly, keeping only what they could carry. He handed her a cloak to hide her glowing lines. "We can't stay here," he said, she hissed, clutching the cloak with shaking fingers. "You should leave me. They only want me. You'll die if you stay." He looked at her calmly. "I told you before. I didn't buy you. I saved you. That means I stay." Her chest tightened at his stubborn words. She wanted to scream at him, to push him away. But deep inside, a strange warmth grew each time he spoke like that. They moved through the forest, shadows twisting around them. Every branch snap, every rustle of leaves made her nerves spike. The human walked steady, eyes sharp, always scanning, always ready. He was not a fool. He knew they were being hunted. By noon, they heard the first signs. Voices carried on the wind. Rough laughter. Dogs barking. The sound of metal clashing. "They're close," the girl whispered, her glowing eyes narrowing. The human nodded. "Then we keep moving." But soon the hunters caught up. From the trees, shadows emerged. Mercenaries with blasters, bounty hunters with nets, alien trackers with sharp claws. They surrounded them like wolves around prey. The leader stepped forward, a scarred alien with jagged teeth. His voice was rough. "Hand over the girl, human. You don't know what you're carrying. She's not yours to keep." The human's jaw tightened. "She's not yours either." The hunters laughed. "You think you can fight us all? You're one man." He shifted his stance, calm but ready. "Then come and see." The girl's heart pounded. She wanted to tell him to run, to leave her, to save himself. But when she opened her mouth, only a whisper came out. "You'll die." He glanced at her, his eyes steady. "Then I'll die standing." The hunters attacked, blasters fired, nets swung through the air, claws slashed forward. The human moved fast, pulling her behind a tree for cover. He fought with everything he had, fists, kicks, even a broken branch he grabbed from the ground. Each strike landed with brutal force, but there were too many enemies. The girl trembled. She could feel the storm inside her, the curse clawing to escape. Her scream burned in her throat. If she let it out, she could kill them all. But she might kill him too. She clutched her head, tears burning her eyes. "Run, leave me. You don't understand, I can't control it." But the human only shouted back, his voice like iron. "Then don't run, fight with me." Something in his tone struck her deeper than chains ever had. He wasn't afraid of her power. He trusted her, even the part of her that terrified herself. The hunters closed in tighter. One net flew straight at her, glowing with energy meant to bind. Without thinking, she raised her hands. Light burst from her skin, shattering the net into sparks. Her scream rose, but she swallowed it down, directing the force outward in a wave that knocked 3 hunters to the ground. The forest shook with the sound. The men stumbled back, eyes wide with fear. "She's awake." "The curse?" The leader snarled. "Don't back down. She's worth more than gold." But the girl stood taller now, the cloak falling away, her glowing lines bright like fire. Her chest heaved, her heart racing, but she held the storm inside. For the first time, she wasn't just trying to survive. She was fighting beside him. The human, bleeding and bruised, grinned through his pain. "Good, that's it. You're not a curse. You're stronger than them." The hunters hesitated. Fear crept into their eyes. The stories were true. The death song was real, and she stood unleashed. The leader roared and charged forward, blade raised high. But before he could strike, the girl moved faster than she ever had. Her power burst out in a shockwave, sending him crashing into the trees. The forest fell silent. The remaining hunters, wide-eyed and trembling, turned and fled into the shadows. The girl dropped to her knees, gasping, trembling from the effort. Her power burned inside her, but she had controlled it just enough. The human staggered to her side, placing a hand on her shoulder. "See, you're not cursed. You're alive. That's what they fear." Her glowing eyes filled with tears. She wanted to argue, to deny, to insist she was nothing but danger. But in that moment, with him beside her and the hunters gone, she believed him. Just a little. For the first time, she wondered. Maybe she was never cursed at all. Maybe she was chosen. And that thought scared her more than anything. The forest was quiet after the hunters fled, but the silence felt heavy like the pause before a storm. The girl sat on the ground, her body shaking, her glowing lines dimming slowly. She had used her power without destroying everything around her. For the first time in her life, she had controlled it. The human knelt beside her, blood still dripping from his wounds. He placed his hand on her shoulder, steady and calm as if his pain did not matter. "You see? You're not a curse. You can control it." Her glowing eyes lifted to his face. Her voice trembled. "I almost lost it. If I had screamed, but you didn't, he interrupted gently. You chose. That means you are stronger than your fear. The words made her chest ache. For years, she had believed she was only a weapon, a danger, a living curse. Now a human stood in front of her, seeing something else, someone else. But the moment of peace did not last. From deeper in the forest, the sound of marching feet grew louder. Dozens of torches lit the night. The hunters had returned, not fleeing, but regrouping, and this time, they weren't alone. The auction master himself stepped forward, his fat frame draped in dark robes, his 3 eyes glowing with greed. Soldiers and mercenaries surrounded him, their armor gleaming under the torchlight. You thought you could steal my property? The master spat, his voice dripping with fury. That girl is mine. She belongs in chains. She is nothing without the cage. The girl's body froze. His words hit her like whips. For a heartbeat, she felt the old fear return, the chains wrapping tight around her soul. The human stood tall in front of her, his face hard. She's not yours. She was never yours, the master sneered. You don't understand, human. She is the cage. Her very blood is a prison. Without chains, she destroys everything. The soldiers raised their weapons. The girl trembled, the storm inside her burning hotter. The fear of losing control clawed at her chest. She whispered to the human, her voice breaking, You should leave me now. If I fight, if I scream, I'll kill you too. But the human didn't move. His voice was low, steady, unshaken. Then scream for me, and I'll still stay. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter. No one had ever said such words. No one had ever chosen to stand with her instead of chaining her. The soldiers charged. The girl rose to her feet. Her glowing lines blazed like fire, brighter than the torches, brighter than the stars. For a moment, fear consumed her. But then she felt his hand on her shoulder, steady, grounding. You are not a curse, he whispered. You are free. And something inside her broke, not chains of iron, but chains of fear, chains of doubt, chains of hate. The last chain, the one around her heart, shattered. Her scream rose, but it was no longer wild. It was sharp, focused, controlled. The sound blasted through the forest like thunder. The soldiers collapsed, weapons clattering, their ears bleeding, their bodies writhing in terror. The master staggered back, his 3 eyes wide with horror. Impossible. You can't control it. The girl stepped forward, her power crackling around her like a storm held in her hands. Her voice shook, but not with fear, with strength. I am not your curse. I am not your weapon. I am free. The master tried to run, but her power swept through the air, knocking him to the ground. She did not kill him. She did not lose control. She simply stood tall, the storm roaring within her but no longer ruling her. The forest fell silent once more. The soldiers who survived crawled away, too afraid to face her again. The master's screams faded into the night as he vanished into the shadows. The girl's glow dimmed slowly. She fell to her knees, gasping for breath, her body weak from the effort. But this time there was no shame, no terror. She had not lost herself. She had broken the last chain. The human rushed to her side, catching her before she collapsed fully. His voice was soft, proud. You did it. You're free now. Her glowing eyes met his, tears shining. You whispered you'd take me. I thought you meant as a slave. But you meant as something else. He smiled faintly, his tired face warm. Not property. Not weapon. Just you. Free. Her chest ached with something she had never felt before. Not fear, not hate. Something fragile. Something terrifying. Something beautiful. Hope. The girl leaned against him, trembling but smiling faintly. Then don't let me go. I won't, he whispered. The forest, once filled with chains, laughter, and cruelty, now echoed with silence and freedom. For the first time in her life, the girl was not the death song. She was not the cursed one. She was simply herself, and she was not alone.